And now for our feature presentation.
This is the Botching It Up podcast number 9. Our featured topic this week is the Money in the Bank ladder match, and it broke us. Here we go.
Before we do AEW, did you read, I don't suppose you caught this story about WWE doing a 10-part series where they dip into collections and treasure troves ordered by A&E. Did you see this?
No.
Triple H and Stephanie McMahon will be hunting for lost wrestling memorabilia titled The Quest for Lost WWE Treasures, which I found quite ironic, considering Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder have just been fired.
Didn't they basically used to do that show?
Yeah. It's just that now Triple H and Stephanie McMahon will be pretending like they're normal people and going around the country and doing it instead.
Oh, for God's sake.
It also got me thinking about all of the missed opportunities that WWE have. I was sitting at the beach the other day, and I do not understand why a kids' animated television show based upon the New Day going to meet the giant Pancake King and fighting dragons on unicorns hasn't happened yet.
Was something along the lines of Camp WWE?
No, I'm talking New Day Adventure Time.
I just thought, just on the Disney channel, like Cartoon Network or something.
Yeah, straight rip-off Adventure Time, put WWE stuff in it, have Big E talking to a giant pancake. It writes itself. I might take your idea of writing a pilot and just selling it for a couple of grand and a pat on the back.
Yeah, just pitch it to see. I'm so stressed right now.
I can tell, man.
The whole show has just ruined wrestling for me.
You've really killed my little New Day animated bit.
Sorry. It's a really
I thought
good
about
idea.
that for at least 5 minutes.
Would they so they're fighting pancakes?
Yeah.
Right, before we start, we have to do a reduction from last week's podcast.
What did we do wrong?
An apology to Leon Ruff. That is his actual wrestling name.
Oh, yeah, no, I saw this because he got squashed by Killer Cross.
He's worked for Evolve for a long time and used to work for Full Impact as well. So he's actually busting his ass, trying to promote his own name, and we chat all over him.
Well, I refuse to apologise to Leon Ruff. I think he needs to get his ass down to the court and change his fucking name.
It's not a bad name.
It's already been done, and it was done better. He sounds like the Poundland version of Leo Rush, who, in your opinion, was the Poundland version of Ricochet. So a copy of a copy of a copy doesn't work too well.
It's not good, is it?
Can we talk about jobbers for a second before we get on to the main show?
Yeah.
I watched a little bit of NXT to see the Killer Cross stuff.
Yeah.
And I saw Akira Tozawa in the Cruiserweight tournament against Jack Gallagher and go on to be in the semi-finals, I think, of this Cruiserweight tournament. That guy gets jobbed out every single week on Raw by anybody. And now he's in the semi-finals of a Cruiserweight Championship tournament against Jack Gallagher, who I think has got a depression tattoo, because that's a real thing, and Drake Maverick, who has already been fired.
I know this tournament doesn't have a lot of star power, does it?
Why do I care about who's jobber of the month, though? Like, if Tozawa is represented to me as a jobber, and then he's beating all of the guys that I don't even see on Raw, then why do I care about the jobber title?
Well, yeah, you shouldn't. And I think there's a bigger problem entirely, that there's just too many squash matches right now.
I understand the need behind it, because they think that they can't go along with matches. That kind of makes sense after watching Money in the Bank. But if you're going to have a designated jobber guy, I don't understand why it's Tozawa, because I thought Tozawa was pretty good. But if you're going to have Tozawa as a jobber guy, don't make him king of the jobbers, because anybody else that people might not have thought was a jobber is now a jobber. Like, I hadn't even thought about Jack Gallagher, but now I know he's below Tozawa, who gets squashed in 2 minutes by Austin Theory.
Do you think that they think that it's a good thing that he's getting TV time on Raw?
I think that they're not even thinking like that, because the octopus has a brain in its tentacles and a brain in its head, right? And the brain in its tentacles and the brain in its head don't necessarily know what the other brain is doing. I think that's a pure case of schizophrenia in regards to Tozawa. I
Right,
think Vince
yeah.
McMahon sees him as one person, and Triple H tries to remedy it on a Wednesday, and
Right,
then on
I
Monday he
see what
goes
you're
back
saying.
to yeah.
So he's a jobber on one show and he's a future star on another show.
All of the jobbers on Raw are NXT guys.
A lot of them. Some of them are local talent.
But then we're supposed to take them seriously in NXT, despite the fact that in NXT you've also got guys like Adam Cole and Killer Cross there.
That's what I'm saying. There's just too many squash matches. You're killing everyone's momentum, especially the NXT guys.
It
And all
makes
the
no sense at all.
and all the people that are winning squash matches, it doesn't have the same effect it used to have because I'm seeing too many of them, so they're becoming boring.
Yeah. I've got to admit, we're not going to get into it because we've got so much stuff to go through, but I thought that Raw last week was the most boring Raw I've seen in years. I struggled to get through it. It took me about 3 sittings, I think, to finish it.
Followed by a very lame SmackDown.
SmackDown was SmackDown. I've never seen a change in quality for SmackDown, good or bad. It's just always kind of there, in my opinion. But then maybe that's because I watch it on Sunday morning, which is my Saturday morning, so it doesn't really matter what it is actually presenting to me. I don't really care. I just sit there slightly hungover and watch wrestling, and it makes me feel like a 7-year-old because that's what I used to do. So the quality doesn't really matter to me.
But god damn it, Dynamite!
Okay, no, what I was gonna say. Do you want to start with talking about the best show of the week or the worst show of the week?
Well, AEW turned up to play this week. Maybe we'll finish on them
I
because
don't think they turned up to play. I think they turned up to bully.
they knocked it out of the park. They destroyed WWE in a go home week, and
Hey.
probably even beat their pay-per-view with just a weekly show.
I'm the little mainstream WWE hardcore fanboy, right? According to your brain. AEW was insane this week. It was my favorite thing. There's one thing that I didn't like on it, which you will know what it is, but it was 90% absolute gold, my opinion.
Well, let's start with Money in the Bank.
Money in the bank. Money,
Do you-
money, money, baby. I want to hear your favorite thing on the show and your least favorite thing on the show, and then we can work through your problems.
My favorite thing on the show, you're gonna roll your eyes at me and think I'm crazy.
Braun Strowman.
No.
Really?
Yeah.
What was it?
My favorite thing on the show was Bobby Lashley versus R-Truth.
Oh my god.
No, and I knew you would be annoyed at me, but I have a concrete argument to why this was the best thing on the show.
Bobby
And-
Lashley versus R-Truth was the WWEest WWE thing on that show. And when I'm saying that in mention to the main events, that's quite something, my opinion.
So a recurring theme on this show is that Vince McMahon doesn't understand that he puts on a TV show, right? So if you want to tell a story or do a character arc, yeah,
Yeah.
it's got to start somewhere and it's got to lead to somewhere. Think of all the greatest TV shows ever, Game of Thrones, Breaking Bad, whatever. They
Sorry.
always move forward. There's always a direction they go. If the story doesn't move forward, it's fucking boring and people stop tuning in to watch. Every single segment on Money in the Bank fucking came out of nowhere and fucking destroyed everybody that was a part of it. Apart from Bobby Lashley versus R-Truth. It came
Before we get to that, I would just like to announce that is the first time that you've ever sworn on this podcast, and you just did it 3 times in a sentence. So I can quite clearly see that you're not okay with Money in the Bank this week.
I'm very passionate about this show. About how much I hate this show.
Well, you said it was the most passionate that you've been since Enzo Amore teased the flaming table, or Bubba teased the flaming table, and Enzo Amore
Ruined the
ruined
spot.
it
Yeah.
in 2014,
Yeah, that I was very angry then, and I'm very angry now.
6 years ago. Anyway, carry it on. I want to hear it.
So we didn't even know this match was happening. Came out of nowhere, and MVP did this promo with R-Truth about basketball or some silly nonsense, and then
Ooh.
MVP tags himself out, and Bobby Lashley has the match instead. Now, I would argue that before this match, the 3 of these guys I didn't care about, nobody cared about, didn't care about what they're doing. But after this match, Is MVP ever going to have a match again? Is he going to get involved with Bobby Lashley as a manager, maybe? Or is he going to get involved with the Lana Lashley relationship that's breaking down? R-Truth had maybe the best promo he's done in a very long time later on in the show. And Bobby Lashley came out of this match looking like a monster. He dominated like he should do. And like we just discussed, that there's too many squash matches that are boring. This was against an established wrestler that Lashley destroyed. So he looks good.
Okay, I understand your point of view there.
Coming out of this match, there's 3 people built forward that had proper character arcs that I'm interested in what they're going to do next. Unlike 12 people in the main event I couldn't give a fuck about.
All right, that's it's a valid point, actually. It really is. And I was going to say, from when I watched Raw, one of the few ideas that I like about it is MVP being like a scheming veteran and hiring Shane Thorne and Brendan Vink. And I like the way he's slowly going around the roster, potentially looking for talent to build up this little crew, because he knows he can't really go anymore. With that being said, we know where it's going. We know that potentially MVP is going to side with Bobby Lashley or whatever, and that Bobby Lashley came out because Bobby Lashley needs to be pushed in front of a crowd or an audience. Why storyline? Why did Bobby Lashley just turn up? Was he just sick of the comedy?
In storyline, I just suppose there's not much reason for it. Unless MVP is going to become his manager.
Okay.
I don't know. It was just the one thing on the show that after it happened, I was generally intrigued to what's going to happen next.
I really don't want to take the one thing on the show that you enjoyed away from you. But why was this on the show as opposed to the pre-show when you've built up Jeff Hardy for 4 weeks and then just throw him out before the actual main show? Why did this take precedence?
That made no sense. They ruined Jeff Hardy's debut. Or I would argue Mandy Rose Sonya Deville had their final battle on SmackDown and it was like 3 minutes long. Why wasn't that put on the card?
That also didn't make any sense. They've been building that up for 3-4 months. So you've got Jeff Hardy on the pre-show, his big rehab comeback. You've got the blow off to Mandy and Sonya on free TV. But you do get time for R-Truth versus Bobby Lashley. And I originally thought that this might be on the show for a nice little piece of fluff, comedic effect, because there might be a lot of serious matches on the show, but then you go to the main event and you didn't really need it.
I know. I mean, the card didn't make any sense top to bottom. It was all over the place. But no, I agree with you. Jeff Hardy's debut was ruined.
But I do agree, going back to your point, that whether you like the storyline or not, or whether it's serious or not, this is 101 wrestling booking where 3 people come out with interest for the next show. I do agree with that, and I think that they did achieve it, even if I didn't particularly understand why it was there or enjoy it.
Yeah, no, it definitely wasn't the best thing, but it was the only thing that actually made logical storyline sense.
Okay.
Anyway, what was your least favorite thing about the show?
My least favorite?
Oh no, your most favorite, sorry.
My favorite part of the entire show was Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, it was a good.
I think that my favorite part of it actually was the fact that they finally changed Seth Rollins' theme tune. Much needed. You can't have a cult leader who's manipulative and psychotic with a burn it down theme, because he's meant to be Charles Manson-esque and get his disciples into him and think that he's the greatest guy in the world. So I'm really glad that they changed that. I'm very upset that he didn't turn up in his gear, his Messiah gear. I really wanted to see that. But this match overall, in my opinion, was best match on the card.
Easily best match on the card.
Would have been an absolute firecracker in front of a crowd. Probably my favorite match that I've seen in the empty arena era. I thought they worked so well together. They've got a natural chemistry that's quite rare, where they just... It was the first match I've seen where they sort of made me forget that this wasn't normal wrestling. So I've got to commend them both for that, and I thought it was a great match.
If there was a crowd, I think this would have been close to a 5-star match.
Yeah.
It was fantastic, but there was a lot of spots that definitely would have been better with a crowd.
And this is the thing with WWE specifically more than AEW, I've noticed. They have to sort of pinch themselves and stop from playing to the crowd. I haven't noticed it so much on AEW, but there's quite a lot of wrestlers, Drew McIntyre specifically, go to do the crowd stuff and then think, oh shit, there's no one here. And I think that says something about the way that WWE can take anybody from somebody that they've made themselves to an independent wrestler like Drew McIntyre and sort of force them into this robotic sense of the exact right time to go play the crowd to the point where they're no longer even thinking about it. It's one thing I've noticed across all of the shows, and some people are really bad at it, like King Corbin. He has no idea what to do without that crowd.
I think that's a problem with the matches as well. The matches are still geared toward an audience rather than matches for the TV. Whereas AEW, I think, are putting on matches for a TV audience rather than a live audience.
Well, I don't want to like run around the whole spectrum of this week's shows, but there's one thing that I absolutely loved about AEW. They're refusing to not do the fireworks. They're still doing the pyro. Yeah. I don't know whether it was on purpose or not, but they've changed arenas. They've got like a half an outside venue. They've got people around. They're making fun of the whole idea. They're acting like a company run by normal people who talk about the coronavirus and the fact that it exists, and they do their best to make you feel like you're there from a television screen. And I think the problem with WWE is when they have a crowd, they play to TV. So when they only have TV, they just do the same thing because they don't actually appreciate a crowd being around them. But the actual, the way it's produced, the way it looks, the way they put things together, just doesn't. It seems to have lost all intensity of what a live event actually is way before coronavirus. So now they're just stuck in this strange mire of thinking that they're playing to a home audience because that's what they're so used to.
A good evidence for this is in the opening match, the four-way SmackDown Championship tag match. John Morrison does a Spanish fly off the top rope and lays out everybody at ringside. And if there was a live audience, there would have been like some chanting and a pop of some sort, and everyone would have like slowly got back up to their feet. But I noticed everybody was back up to their feet within a good couple of seconds because there was nothing else going on. They all had to get back up to continue, so they couldn't really sell this really big spot. Arguably the best move in that match.
And it also shows the stupidity of that spot for what it really is when there is no crowd to react to it. Pretty sick of that move. I think it's dead. I'm not saying that it wasn't fun that John Morrison did it and that he wasn't doing great, but I see that move so often now. I think
specifically a Spanish fly or just any dive to the outside?
No, not the move itself, just the dive to the outside with six guys just conveniently there to pick them up.
I always thought the move looks much more brutal when there's just one guy out there anyway.
I agree, yeah. I don't really know why they have...
suicide dive just onto one person looks better.
I don't really know why they have the six guys. I mean, I don't think it would be for safety because we've seen them do it against one person. It definitely doesn't add effect. It takes it away.
Yeah, because it just looks like they're all there as a crash mat.
Yeah. But anyway, do you want to go through this? I'm not going to ask you what your least favourite
because you already know what it is.
I'm sure we'll get to it.
So let's start then on the pre-show, Jeff Hardy versus Cesaro. I don't have any notes because I didn't realise there was a pre-show. And I went to watch this after watching the main event, and I was just so pissed off with wrestling, I couldn't get through this match. so you're going to have to take the lead on what happened.
I've only got the smallest notes. It was a decent match.
Okay.
It was, it would have been a good TV match, which is the sort of thing that you kind of need for a pre-show. I'm not asking for anything more. It's quite clear Jeff is getting slightly slower at this point. I think the worst thing about it was that the one that looked like he had just made his triumphant return and that we should be cheering was Cesaro. Cesaro just made Jeff Hardy look like a lame duck. He countered every move, and it's quite clear WWE are not pushing Jeff Hardy straight to superstardom at this point. It wasn't a showcase for Jeff Hardy. And to be honest with you, Jeff Hardy didn't look that good. When he's talking about the last run, it's definitely the mid-card. These promos from Sheamus and people like that are quite clearly Vince McMahon talking to Jeff Hardy saying, if you don't fuck this up, then I'll give you a mid-card belt and you can mess around with that for a year or two. But I think Jeff's main event dreams are permanently over.
I think
And
Jeff has one really good WrestleMania match left, and then he's done.
But I mean, give the guy a couple of weeks because he's just come back after a year off, I think. He's never wrestled in front of an empty arena before. He's never talked in front of an empty arena before. That was quite clear on SmackDown. He was dreadful. He looked like a deer in headlights.
When he did the Whisper in the Wind on SmackDown, he looked like he re-injured himself. He looked really in pain.
He's not doing things fluidly anymore. You know, when guys come back after a little time off and you can quite clearly see subtleties that they've slowed down or that they can no longer get to the places that they used to. That's what I saw with Jeff Hardy on this pre-show.
How old is Jeff Hardy?
He's got to be in his early 40s, I think, at this point.
Yeah, 42.
Yeah.
So it might be his age as well.
He's got a couple of years. I don't think he'll break past the mid-card at this point in his career, though.
Anyway, on the actual card, we open up with the 4-way tag team championship match for the SmackDown Championship. We already discussed the Spanish Fly, which I think was the highlight of the match. The rest of the match it was so similar to the 8-man tag they had on SmackDown. It was essentially the same thing, just it was for the belts this time.
That's why I hate them doing this multi-big man match on the go-home show of a TV. I don't understand why they do it. I think they think that it's going to be unique on the pay-per-view because they put 2 teams against each other instead of all of the teams against each other. But as you said, you've already seen the match. And
Yep.
I think it's even worse when it's not like a glorified angle because that match on SmackDown was the best thing that WWE TV had that week.
Yeah, the 8-man tag on SmackDown, I've actually got in my notes, was my favorite part of SmackDown.
Yeah, same. I really enjoyed it.
Especially Lucha House Party, because on SmackDown they were so fluid and they weren't botching anything and they actually looked really good.
Well, I've got a note in the Money in the Bank match that the person I thought that really stood out was Gran Metalik.
Yeah.
Everything he did looked like it was melting like butter.
Yeah, those two have always been the joke, or the 3, there was a third one, have always been a bit of a joke, but actually I think at the moment they're kind of the standout in SmackDown's tag division.
I think they also kind of need them. John Morrison and The Miz is all talk. The New Day have been going for such a long time that they're sort of going through the movements at this point. And I haven't seen anything impressive out of the Forgotten Sons. They need like a good in-ring act, and I think Lucha House Party provides that at the moment.
Yeah, so it was an okay match, but it was nothing special. The promo immediately after this match was Lacey Evans, who is an awful face. I really dislike her, but in a good way. I want to boo her as a heel.
Yeah, there's certain people that I don't think suit face at all. We were talking earlier about how I've only just found out that Johnny Gargano is now heel. I don't get it. Lacey Evans is a natural heel. Johnny Gargano is a natural face. And it would be, in my opinion, be the same thing as turning Baron Corbin at this point, face. I don't really understand why Lacey Evans is being pushed as like the all-American woman, like Kelly or Mickey James or anybody like that. She's just dislikable. And I think that if you've got that, run with it.
Even in the match, she seemed like a heel.
The match.
So after that, we had a Drew McIntyre promo, and I'm going to say the same thing. Later on the card, there's a Seth Rollins promo. They're okay, but neither of them add anything, so I don't see the kind of pointless.
The only note I've got for the Drew McIntyre promo is I thank God that Drew McIntyre has finally stopped breathing out of his nose. I don't know.
I never even noticed.
I don't. Well, you haven't noticed. Me and my girlfriend have noticed. Every single time Drew McIntyre comes on, I can't concentrate on what he's saying because he just says, "Ah, you see, Chris."
That's fantastic.
Every single time, and obviously somebody in the back has said, "Hey, Drew, can you try and like subtly breathe out of your mouth?" Because I didn't hear what he said. I'm not sure what he said, but what I was concentrating on was him trying really hard not to breathe out of his nose. And halfway through the promo, he did it and then looked like he'd shit himself because obviously he's been told off for this. So well done, Drew McIntyre, on not breathing out your nose. It's made him a lot more likable to me, my girlfriend, and my TV.
Okay. All right. Then it's the MVP Lashley R-Truth stuff, which we can just go past.
I'd just like to add to that I'm really enjoying MVP being back, even if he's not really doing much. It's just nice to see him, and he looks in great shape. He might not be able to wrestle, but I think that he's a worthwhile addition to helping to build some of these younger guys up. Like, in my opinion, what Rey Mysterio should be doing right now, MVP's doing a good job of it.
Yeah, I think he'd be a good manager.
I think they're heading that way. I don't know why they've put him with the two NXT guys, though.
And then we have no one meaner than Tamina versus Bailey.
Oh, God.
This was like schoolyard bullying. It wasn't fun to watch. It was just annoying.
This might upset you. This was my least favorite part of the show.
Why would that upset me? It was awful.
No, I mean, like, because your least favorite part of the show is a lot different from mine. This felt so long. It felt like Triple H versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania 28 or something. Like, something that went 45 minutes. I feel sorry for Bailey because Bailey, as usual, tried her very best here. I think she looked across the ring from Tamina and she was like, I'm not going to get any form of match out of this, so I might as well just shout. I can see her thinking that. Tamina moved like 2006 Jim Duggan. Or like 1987 Andre. She moved so slow. She missed most spots. I had no idea what was going on, and it just went on forever. And that rollover pin at the end, that's the most painful rollover pin I've ever seen.
It was a bad finish. What annoys me most about this match is people actually liked it.
People liked this match.
Yeah, people online have been saying it was the best Tamina match ever. It was a good show. I don't even have words for it. I can't say anything positive about it.
I think that the reviews that you've been reading are the 30-some that live in their mum's basement and sip off Mountain Dew because of Sasha Banks' outfit.
No, these are legitimate like wrestling journalists. These are people liked it, man. I don't know what to say about it.
People seem to like this whole show, and I have no fucking idea why.
There's hardly anything redeemable in this entire show, and
I sat in classic WWE fashion. I was actually looking forward to quite a lot on this show, and I sat down for the pre-show and for the first match, eating my bacon sandwich, and I was quite enjoying myself, and I thought that this might actually go somewhere. And in my opinion, I was like, R-Truth versus Bobby Lashley, it's just a WWE comedy shit. It's like Santino Morella or whatever. Bailey versus Tamina was where this fell off a cliff, and it became just a bore to get through. And the irony of this is that it's the shortest WWE pay-per-view in decades, and yet towards the end, it kind of felt like the longest.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying with that. I think my problem is that I was just too excited for this, and I was left very underwhelmed.
Well, that's the issue with WWE, though. That's the problem. Every time you put faith in it, every time you invest yourself in storylines, they always let you down. Like, it's very interesting to me to do this podcast and also have a girlfriend that watches wrestling, because I watch her reactions. She's interested in certain things. She doesn't care about others. But wrestling is on quite a lot. So she will tune in or tune out occasionally. And, like, they turned her into a fan, right, for 2 or 3 weeks just by it being on in the background. And very slowly now, they're unraveling her. She doesn't care about it anymore. Because every time that she's into something, they take it away from her.
She was a casual for 3 weeks, and already she's done with it.
Yeah, no, honestly, she turned around to me. She made me watch the Money in the Bank again after I'd already seen it, because she really wanted to watch it because she thought it'd be interesting. She turned around to me at the end. She was like, I know that you've been watching WWE since you were a kid, and I know that it's like a comfort blanket for you. But this is shit. I think you need to start watching that other show.
It is just shite.
But that's what she said. She's been a wrestling fan for what, all of 2 weeks. And she's very honest with her opinion. She doesn't hate wrestling. She came to it like a completely objectively. And she just is continually disappointed.
And then how do you think people like us feel that are like constantly trying to be excited and always let down?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, after this show, I have no interest in watching Raw or SmackDown at least for a week or two.
I normally always watch Raw on a Tuesday. I haven't bothered today.
I haven't bothered. My argument, like much of this show, the Bailey Sasha storyline just wasn't progressed at all. Nothing happened there. So again, it was just a pointless match.
Think in typical WWE booking, they thought about it and then changed their mind at last minute. I'm sure 2 weeks ago Sasha was going to turn on Bailey, either during the match or after the match, and then they're like, nah, and then they left it, and they'll probably keep doing that now until crowds come back.
Yeah, I heard they want to do the return for SummerSlam, which is fine in itself, but you still need to like slowly tease it. You can't just not do anything.
You can't forget that the storyline exists and at least 10 people in the world are still into it.
So next we have Braun versus Bray. First note I want to make: wrestling in skinny jeans must be really hard.
I was very impressed by Bray Wyatt wrestling in any way, not just with the skinny jeans, but with the jumper as well.
Did you
It
see how
must have been
sweaty
very
he
hot.
got?
I saw. Well, I thought that was just Bray Wyatt's face. Generally, he looks quite unhealthy.
They,
A very white face.
they were both big sweaty boys in this one.
This is your ideal sort of match, right? Big sweaty boys.
Like the ring was actually wet. There was puddles in the ring. You could see.
Beautiful.
Yeah, lovely. I like this match more thinking about it as not being a match. It was just an extended promo.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because
I thought.
If I think about it as a match, it's just two guys I love ruined for me again.
What did you think of the mask thing?
Now, see, I got a love-hate relationship with this mask bit because I kind of liked it. Not as a match finish. I don't know. I find this one difficult because I feel like the mask being involved in the storyline, it was good that it kind of led up to the mask being used, but I felt like more could have been done with it further down the line.
Yeah. Personally speaking, I've always thought that the biggest problem with Braun Strowman since he became champion is that it looks like there's nothing going on inside his brain when he talks. He looks like his eyes flicker, like not just remembering his lines, but remembering where he is, sort of thing. So, like, I thought it was a good idea to try and make him look a little bit clever, because you have to, in order to be a fan of a monster champion, you have to think that they have a modicum of intelligence. But it was just really poorly executed, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's what it'd be. It just came off bad. It was good on paper. I thought that
lasted way too long. Got awkward and homoerotic.
Oh, what, the hug bit?
Yeah, it was a good minute and a half.
Yeah, that with the arms out for each other, it was
Well,
weird.
they kept putting their arms out every couple of seconds.
I feel like one of them was meant to hug earlier, but they forgot who was meant to hug who first. So they just had like a hug standoff.
I think it's quite clear that Braun and Bray are like best mates, and they're struggling to put together any sort of serious angle.
They just have no chemistry in the ring, but they're best friends backstage.
Well, you can tell by their haircuts that they're mates.
Thought it would have been better if Braun had actually sided with Bray and maybe turned on him further down the line. I don't know, just something different.
I concluded with this one that is the best that they could have done with what they booked, which is usual WWE philosophy. You credit them for doing the best that they can with what they've decided to do.
They book themselves into a corner.
Every single month they do it.
So, would you not have liked the idea of Braun siding with Bray and going off with him?
I think it's been seen quite a few times with the Daniel Bryan stuff.
Yeah, I guess so.
I think that Braun's quite a newcomer to the main event scene, and they kind of need to establish him as an individual. That being said, I wasn't happy with the way that it sort of came out, but potentially a shining light going forward. If they go with this, I would hope that the storyline reason that Bray Wyatt faced Braun was so that Bray liked Braun and Bray didn't want the Fiend to come out for Braun. And I hope that that's what Bray meant at the end when he said, "You don't understand." I would like to think that they're edging towards Bray trying to get Braun to join the flock without the Fiend coming out and causing Braun, his friend, pain. If they do that, they might be able to do something half interesting for another month or two.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as you. I think that's exactly what the storyline's heading. Well, hopefully.
Do you think that would you like to see more of this? If they do it well.
If they do it well, sure, but I just they don't seem to have much chemistry against each other. I don't see anything great coming of this. So
I think this is. I didn't think it was the worst match on the show, but I did think it was the worst build towards the pay-per-view. I don't know about you.
I don't know. It was good and bad. So next up we got Drew versus Seth Rollins for the Universal Championship. We've already gone through this. I just want to add that my moment of the night, not just the match, the whole night, was Drew tied up in a tree of woe and then German suplexes Rollins off the top rope across the ring.
Oh, that looked beast.
Yeah, that was just fantastic. Yeah, like we said, if there was a crowd, this would have been insane. It was still match of the night even without a crowd.
I think Drew's doing a really good job at the moment, being an actual likable babyface champion who looks tough. As simple as that sounds, it seems like WWE have a real hard time creating it. And I think for once, they've got a guy who embodies that.
What did you think of the end of the match with the handshake?
I didn't really get that. I assume that they did it because Drew McIntyre is above Seth Rollins' cult games. He's like not even acknowledging Seth Rollins' gimmick basically and just saying, hey, thanks for the match. And to show maybe that Drew McIntyre is like a fiery babyface champion who just wants good matches and hard brawls. Or it might just be simply saying, hey, congratulations on getting Becky Lynch pregnant. Who knows? Nothing really matters in WWE, and none of the stuff that we see on the screen necessarily means storylines anymore. So,
yeah, true. I quite liked it because the whole story was meant to be Seth didn't want to hurt Drew. He was just said that Drew's not good enough, and then he beats him and then shakes his hand. I am good enough.
Bro, I know that I'm supposed to like pay detailed attention to wrestling storylines in WWE because I do a podcast with you every week, but I do not hear what they say. I sit and watch the promos on Raw and SmackDown. I sit and watch it. I make a note, but I have no idea what they're saying because the verbiage in WWE every week is exactly the same. You could put the audio of a Seth Rollins promo from 2014 and a Seth Rollins promo from 2020, and give or take the situation, I'm not sure that I would be able to tell you what's what. I think I tuned out of hearing what they're actually saying about 15 years ago. Sorry.
I don't know. I think Rollins' his character is the best he's ever been right now.
Oh, I'm not saying anything against Rollins. I think that if you told me 10 months ago that Seth Rollins is one of the best parts of WWE, I would have laughed at you. It's just the stuff they're given every week on week, year on year, sounds the same. It's just the same words coming out of different people's mouths.
Yeah, I get that. So do you want something different? You want this utter shit show that it turned out to be? I think everyone in the world is excited for this. Something different? No. What fucking annoys me is people like this. How does anyone like this?
This has gotten really good reviews on Twitter. It's gotten good reviews on the UKFF fan forum, who are notorious for shitting on everything.
Being really harsh, yeah.
It's even got good reviews from like respected wrestling journalists like Larry Zonka and people like that.
Respected wrestling journalists that I followed are telling me that it was good.
And I really, really hate siding with AW wankers Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez. They were right. This was terrible.
Fucking Alvarez said it was okay. Even him isn't furious about it. He said it was stupid, but he didn't hate it.
I did not expect that from Brian Alvarez.
He said he didn't like it, but he didn't hate it. He was on the fence.
I'm below the fence. I definitely didn't like it. I don't hate it, I think, as much as you do, who Seem like you're about to blow a gasket here.
I'm not even
with
on
it.
the fence. I bury this match deeper than Taker buried AJ. I just fuck this.
What about Buddy Love, bro?
Let's do a play-by-play.
All right. Well, I've got lots of notes about it, but they're not actually critical. It's just things that I saw.
Yeah,
Because
mine's
I mean, how can you really be critical about this thing? I don't really understand how to. I still 2 days later, I still don't really understand how to come to terms with it or what it was.
I think there's some glaring mistakes that if they had done differently, it would have been a little bit better. Case in point, I've put the first mistake was no commentary in the match.
Definitely agree with you.
I think it could have. And what I thought was silly is Michael Cole announced all the opponents, and then at the beginning, he announced the winners. So in kayfabe, Michael Cole was sat there for half an hour watching this thing and just didn't say anything.
Especially when two people apparently died. And could Michael Cole sound any less interested than when he announced the winners and then said goodbye?
Yeah, it was
I've
just...
never heard him less animated in my life.
So instead of commentary, it had music, and then the music changed like with every hallway they went into, and there were so many music changes. It got jarring and just gave me a headache.
I paid attention to the soundtrack as well. They had did you know, by the way, when Otis goes into the cafeteria and finds the pies,
Mm-hmm.
that's the exact same free domain music that Impact Wrestling used when Josh Matthew was video calling people at Rebellion.
That's fantastic. I didn't notice that.
I thought I'd pick that one up for you.
That's great. And that annoys me even more that WWE don't have their own set of royalty-free music that they either made or they have their own music department, for fuck's sake.
Isn't this a billion-dollar company?
Oh my god, and they're using the same $2 music that Impact bought.
At least Josh Matthews pretends that he likes his product.
I think Josh Matthews does love his product because he's all over it.
Well, I think he's their biggest star at this point. But anyway, we won't go into that.
Yeah, I'm getting bitchy now because I'm angry. Right, so we're still at the intros here. The women walk out into the lobby and the men start in the gym. And I've just got a note here that instead of maybe maybe the fifth most important marquee match in WWE's year, instead of it feeling like a legitimate contest for WWE's top prize, it seems like a team bonding exercise at the office. They all just walk in, and then Daniel Bryan walks in and rubs his hands and goes, "Are you right, boys? Are you ready for this?" Like he's the assistant manager, like getting everyone together for a team bonding exercise.
It did feel like the back of Debenhams, didn't it?
Oh god! And then they start, or they do start with Oscar jumping off a balcony.
Well, for another giant spot where everybody falls over.
Well, I was going to say...
That's another thing. Did you notice Bayley versus Tamina, Bray Wyatt versus Braun Strowman, and Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre, back to back, all had table spots?
I didn't notice, but now you say it, yeah.
They all three matches had people. Sorry, I didn't mention this earlier. All three matches had people running in, being thrown into the announce table because it's the only thing of interest at ringside. We watched that time and time again, and every single time, Michael Cole gets up, runs to the same position, and says, "Oh my God." Just another thing that really annoyed me. The pacing of this show was so bad. It was hard to stomach. But sorry, no, Money in the Bank. Right, sorry.
It was like 7 different people produced 7 different products. And none of it got together.
No.
So where are we? Oscar jumped off a balcony and then she made a run for the elevator in maybe what is the only thing in this match that made any sense.
Oscar's clever.
So then the men are brawling in the gym and Baron Corbin throws a weight into a mirror that smashes.
I loved this bit.
Yeah, and then he stares at it and then some music plays. So now he's just got like 5 years bad luck.
Yeah, it was such like a mystical, spooky moment. He said they did a close up of the mirror, then they did a close up of his face, then a close up of the mirror, then a close up of his face. That obviously means something.
I even think it cut to the women and then cut back to him still staring at her.
Yeah. I think, but this is Baron Corbin's new gimmick. No luck, Corbin.
Well, I mean, he's already had 5 years of bad luck with his gimmicks, but...
Oi! You know the rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, where everything goes bad and everybody dies on the ship because one sailor kills an albatross.
Yeah.
Baron Corbin, this weight going into the gym mirror, that's his albatross now.
Hasn't he already been blamed for all of WWE's problems, though?
Well, he's no luck Corbin. I reckon that's his new gimmick. He's not king, he's squire.
Oh, fuck's sake. All right,
But
then.
he was more upset about this fucking mirror than
Killing people.
Yeah, committing homicide on 2 people, and apparently so was the ref.
Then, in a spot that I don't have words for, Otis buries AJ under a bar of weights, and then AJ can't lift the weights off him. And how to ruin your top star in a second? It's a fucking little.
Also,
man,
I think that you should compare this match to the content of Impact Wrestling in general, because this is on the same level of budget.
Definitely is.
Did you see what shirt AJ Styles was wearing throughout this entire match?
No, I didn't notice. What?
The OC. They obviously filmed this like a month before, which shows you just how much thought they put into the firings. But in this match, throughout the entire match, he's wearing a T-shirt to a stable, which 2 of the 3 members
It doesn't
have been
exist.
fired.
And nobody noticed that.
Nobody notices things like that. Nobody thinks about them. I just can't believe it. Anyway,
Maybe AJ wore it on purpose as like a homage to his lost brothers.
I would assume that it was like a day or 2 before they were fired. I have to assume that. But that just shows you how much thought they put into who they were firing.
Yeah. Anyway, so now AJ looks like a pussy. They move out of the gym, and we get our first cameo, which is Bruce Pritchard, Brother Love.
I called this.
And Ray says that he loves him back.
Yeah. It's a really bad episode of Raven. I don't understand any of it. It's like I don't know, some sort of kids game show at this point.
I mean,
are you okay over there?
I'm fine. I'm just sipping my water.
You know Taz sips his water when he's angry as well.
I'm just trying to like not swear too much and explode. I just don't understand how people enjoy this. It ruined everyone looks like an idiot. I mean, my next note is we spend the next 10 minutes running around corridors and everyone is running away from each other looking like chicken shits.
Yeah, Shayna Baszler, man. Can we talk about Shayna Baszler for a minute? So her big claim to fame in this match was getting knocked out a lot and choking out Rey Mysterio during a food fight.
I think that's her one big spot in this match, is that choke out.
Shayna Baszler is ruined from this.
Yeah, but honestly, I think they all are. I don't think anyone came out of this looking good.
What are they doing with Aleister Black?
Oh, Aleister Black's dead now, so that's fine.
What was that? What was that? Aleister Black is the only character I've been invested in WWE for the last 6 months. He's the only character who, episode by episode by episode, is built up, and then they put him on a fucking couch, and this happens. Just throw him off with the other part-timer, Rey Mysterio, who, out of everyone here, was honestly treated like shit in this match. He was really sort of, I don't know, it was disrespectful, I think, to Rey Mysterio. Over the past 20, 25 years, the things that he's done for that company and the popularity that he has, the way he was treated in this match was horrible.
Yeah, I mean, he did. I don't think he did anything. He was just cannon fodder the entire time. So was Aleister Black. Aleister Black, I think, had one big moment, which we'll get to in a minute.
These guys were Austin Theory, bro.
But they all were to each other. Nobody looked good coming out of this. Nobody. And that's why I don't understand how people like this thing, because nobody's interesting now. You killed everybody's momentum.
Yeah.
Where are we? Otis does a yes chant for Daniel Bryan, and then Daniel Bryan kicks him. Then we get our second cameo, which is Doink the Clown. Although everyone's saying it's Doink the Clown, I think a much more niche reference. Do you remember the Mick Foley documentary with Noelle Foley becoming a wrestler?
I thought the same thing.
It's her boyfriend, right?
Frank the Clown, right?
That dresses up as a clown. Yeah, it's him. Yeah. It's definitely him.
I mean, why was Doink wearing a shirt and a wig?
Exactly. It was the boyfriend.
Doesn't make any sense.
Noelle Foley's boyfriend. Because I believe he works in like the writing team anyway.
I would have rather have had no guests than the guests that we had, apart from Paul Heyman. I didn't
Oh,
need to see
oh,
John Laurinaitis again. I
once we
didn't
get
need
to the
to.
Paul Heyman bit, I'm gonna lose my rag.
Oh, really? You didn't like that bit?
Fuck's sake.
Oh, you got no humor, bro.
Well, you got to drag Heyman down with this as well. Um, and then a bit that really made Carmella look cool is she literally on the floor pleading to Nia to not punch her, backing up into a conference room. Dana Brooke hits Nia Jax with a chair shot, and Nia sells it like she actually got shot with a gun. She crumples to the floor and is just laid out dead.
Worse than this,
One chest.
I'm not a fan of Nia Jax. I don't like the fact that she's getting the monster push or whatever. I had a serious issue with Stephanie McMahon coming in, talking to Dana Brooke, and saying, "Hey, can you clean up that mess? Nia Jax is slobbering all over the floor."
Yeah, I mean,
Way to just destroy everything that you've done to make her look like a badass.
yeah, make her look like a fucking idiot as well.
So Stephanie McMahon looks great, but Nia Jax looks like an idiot. Dana Brooke looks like an idiot.
Well, that's the bit I'm on now, actually. Dana, I've got here, Dana Brooke pulls an R-Truth and pulls down a briefcase hanging in this boardroom, thinking that this is the one she's looking for, even though we know that she knows all the cases are on the roof. And then Stephanie...
And that the cases kind of don't look like that.
Although I put in my notes, if I was Dana, this case was full of money, I would have just taken that one.
Bro, I thought the same thing.
Just take that case.
Just get the lift down and walk out.
Yeah. Yeah, so Stephanie does this like student filmmaker's quality prober against a wall and just, again, makes everyone else look like an idiot.
This whole thing was a sixth form play.
Oh. Next major bit we got is AJ searching for... Why is AJ searching for Ray throughout this entire thing?
Because Ray didn't pick up the muscle weights from his chest.
So that's his problem, okay.
He's got no problem with Otis.
Yeah, who actually did it. He's out for Ray. Okay. So he sees a Taker picture on the wall and then gets freaked out and then finds a Taker
this was
room.
So bad.
And I guess he's suffering PTSD or something. And then Aleister Black's big moment of the entire thing is that he kicks AJ into the room and locks him in there.
It was so bad.
No words.
It didn't work on a serious level. It didn't work on a comedy level. It made the Boneyard match look stupid. It made AJ Styles look stupid. It made Aleister Black look stupid. There is no way we seriously could believe that AJ Styles is scared of a badly lit and badly dressed room that had been put there only for the show, for that stupid spot, and was about to be removed. There is no way that we can find it humorous either, because they're putting it in the same position and with the same storyline as something that everybody actually enjoyed. Whether people enjoyed the Undertaker match because it was tongue-in-cheek or not, I don't think that matters. There's still a seriousness to that match which people enjoyed. You just threw it all away. This is what... Do you remember when AJ Styles got involved in like a pregnancy angle with Claire Lynch?
Yes.
That used to be the worst moment of AJ Styles' career. Getting terrified of a company picture on a corporate wall, I think, is a new low for him.
And if you want to think kayfabe about this, if he legit was that scared, then this man is suffering some real PTSD. And then that's not funny.
Yeah, he kind of needs company help.
Yeah, he needs medical treatment, and that's not a laughing matter.
Who set that room up?
I guess Undertaker lives there?
Well, he just walked out of it later, though, and went on the roof.
What?
How long was he in the room for? What was he doing? It doesn't... The idea of comedy is that it's funny because it means something based upon connection, right? So the comedic effect of this would be that AJ Styles got buried by The Undertaker, and now he's getting buried again when he least expects it in a headquarters. But even in comedy, even in farcical comedy, you have to take your own convention of reality seriously. You have to pretend that Undertaker actually lives there, or Undertaker actually shows up and therefore pushes it into the next realm. By just badly dressing a room with a couple of silk drapings and throwing a coffin in there, and then for Aleister Black to also take this room seriously, makes no sense on a serious level, a comedic level, or a logical level, a real level. It doesn't make sense on any level whatsoever.
Well, you just summed up the whole match. None of it makes sense.
Yeah.
And for Aleister Black to be in this spot as well just hurts him as much as AJ.
This is the thing that I was most angry about, because I'm a big Aleister Black fan. I just think that they've completely ruined him.
They have.
I'm no longer interested in anybody.
That's what I'm saying. They've killed Blazer's momentum completely short. Aleister Black, everyone. No one is interesting.
No.
Anyway, the next bit is the Heyman cameo where he's sat at a buffet table and then Otis throws some food at him while he's trying to do the whole my name's Paul Heyman thing. And it starts a food fight. Now, I know what you're going to say, that it was entertaining, but again, this is one of the top marquee matches of the year, and we're having a food fight.
I know that it's a top marquee match of the year, but people did expect, like, zany shit.
There's zany, and then there's just like a fucking... They have food fights in Raw segments with jobbers that don't mean anything. We've got who are meant to be the 6 main eventers fighting for a top prize in a food fight.
Well, I think this is the problem that we have been over for however long this podcast has lasted today. WWE is schizophrenic. It's completely and utterly unhinged because it expects us to feel a certain way about these people at a certain point. But when they decide that we're supposed to feel something else, they expect us to do so. So they give us AJ Styles in 3 weeks' time as an ultra serious competitor, maybe for Drew McIntyre's title, and how he really wants a title, and it'd be like a real wrestling feud. And we're supposed to forget the fact that he had a food fight with Nia Jax or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think AJ was actually there, but you know the point I mean. Like, they expect you to feel how they want you to feel at all times.
He wasn't there, but he's still associated with this shit. So
yeah, I mean, but it's a general point of they think that they control how we feel about their characters based upon how they treat their characters. I did laugh, though, when Paul Heyman was tucking into his dinner. I didn't like the food fight stuff. I didn't like when he got everything basically from him getting food thrown in his face. But I did enjoy Paul just looking at a little bit of lettuce and then actually thinking that he'd go for some bread rolls.
Just the imagery of him sat there alone at this massive buffet table.
Yeah, licking his lips.
I mean, there's no staff in the building. Why was there even a buffet table?
I don't know. Vince McMahon looked like a skeleton, so maybe none of them are real. That's the realest fuck me I've ever heard from you.
So in amongst this food fight, you see it in the background. I don't think it was actually meant to be in shot, but Baszler and Otis are having a sword fight with 2 subs.
I missed this. I did not see that.
I don't think you're meant to see it. It was right in the corner, and I think both of them... So I think they're friends, because I think they were in NXT around at the same time. So I imagine they're friendly. So I think they were just, like, pissing about with some bread rolls in the background.
Did you see also Carmella was full-on smiling when she was about to get chokeslammed through the table?
She was smiling in a table spot.
Yeah, they were quite obviously having a great time and forgot that people at home are watching, I think.
I think this is like many sports. It's more fun to be a part of it than it is to watch it.
100%.
I think filming this would have been a lot of fun, but watching it was a drag.
It was everything that I was afraid of. Do you remember last week I said that I would have been a lot more excited for this if I hadn't watched Edge versus Randy Orton for 45 minutes running around the Performance Center hitting each other?
Yeah.
I was really hoping that this wouldn't go that way.
It was a load of people just brawling in corridors, not doing anything. And that's the thing I'm pissed off about. I got a note further down. Like, they were in a hallway at one point, and there was a load of chairs on the wall. And they don't do anything with any of that. There was one table spot, and the mirror got destroyed. Apart from that, nothing else got destroyed. It was just mindless brawling in corridors.
I think they got to it, and Vince McMahon and the people that work at WWE said, no, you're not doing anything to our shit.
Yeah, but just get some sugar glass and put up a fake wall, and someone could go through a fake, like, glass panel, or just dress up a few more tables, and we'll pretend they weren't wrestling tables. We'll pretend that it was a desk with a computer on it. You know, we're willing to have that suspension of disbelief that
Well,
it was a
that's the
wrestling.
whole point of wrestling, isn't it?
Yeah,
You know,
I'm willing to see a desk, and now it's obviously a wrestling table, so they don't want to destroy a proper $100 desk or whatever. But they didn't even do that. They didn't attempt to make this fun.
this is the double whammy of badness to me because not only, as you've very rightly said, have they kind of ruined everybody, but they did it in such a half-assed way. If this was just crazy and unhinged, but it still didn't do very well, and it was still kind of ruined everybody, I think you'd be a little bit more lenient on it because it
Yeah,
would be a memory. It would be a moment like Kane and Raven with the golf carts and shit, you know?
yeah,
It,
exactly.
it was just lazy. It was lazy like everything they do. They get the most imaginative idea that they possibly can to do with the money in the bank, and then physically don't do anything with it.
This was the best idea they've had since the pandemic. The best thing they've done since empty arenas, and somehow they managed to do it
WWE it.
the worst way they possibly could.
Yeah. This had interest. This had cross appeal. People that sit there and only watch Chikara while wanking, even they were interested in it, you know? Everybody was interested to see how that they would do this, and all of the potential viewers that they had in their grasp, they've lost. And now they've lost people that sit and struggle through their shows anyway.
I think every wrestling fan in the world, everyone could have booked this better. I,
I
I
would
don't
agree.
I don't know if there was a time. There wasn't a time constraint. They filmed this weeks ago, or a money issue, or I don't know what it was. But there's so many spots they could have put in that could have been interesting.
I've just read that they actually filmed this on April the 15th. So they had nearly a full month to edit. What did you think of WWE headquarters interior design?
Oh man, it was fucking shite. It wasn't even an interesting location to film on. We all
But
thought there was going to be this tons of memorabilia. The best we got was a T-Rex head.
That weird red room.
That's Vince's. That's actually his office, apparently.
Oh no, not Vince's. I don't want to get onto Vince's office yet, but there's a weird like red room with like cage matting. Did you see that? And it like red walls and stuff.
That was the gym, wasn't it?
No. Like there was a building that they briefly went to and then ran out of again.
Oh.
WWE. This is full confirmation that WWE are the TGI Fridays of entertainment. It's so tacky. Like these are rooms that people are actually using every day. And this made me realize why WWE isn't aware of popular culture and Vince McMahon hasn't watched anything since Ace Ventura 1. It's just because they truly do live in their own universe. And they've been calling themselves a universe for 10 years, and I think this confirmed it.
Yeah, they're in their own bubble.
But not just a bubble, a really tacky one, bro.
Where are we?
Can we get to the McMahon?
Well, there's a few bits before the McMahon.
Okay.
Such as John Laurinaitis getting a pie in the face. A pie that Otis was originally going to eat and then just completely be distracted from the entire match. He was just going to eat.
This is another thing that I wanted to raise. Obviously, we know who John Laurinaitis is. We know who Bruce Pritchard is. And I know that they couldn't necessarily get people involved because of the lockdown. How many people are viewing this product and have no idea who these people are?
Like all of the 6 to 10-year-olds.
Who this is primarily aimed at, right?
It would have been better if Undertaker turned up instead of the Undertaker room than any of the other cameos.
I'm just thinking that the cameos were so disappointing. They might as well just not have had them there.
Yeah, they just shouldn't have done it. I mean, I get that it was probably difficult to get real legends, and most of them probably would have just said no anyway. But just don't do it. Just have the Vince bit and just nothing else.
I agree.
So,
And the Stephanie McMahon thing was so bad.
that was stupid. If you want Stephanie in it, sure, but just not like that.
Or just at least to turn her up so that she actually looks like she's in a room and not in her living room.
She was in her living room. That was definitely shot in a different place.
But why even include it? It looks so amateurish.
It did. It looked awful.
Anyway.
So the next bit is, again, another bone to pick. Why is the only employee we ever see a fucking janitor? Why do we never see anybody like in the background working at a computer? Or like people
Because
You know what would have legit been a really funny spot? if they're brawling in the corridor and then two people just walk out of a door and they're like, oh shit, and their papers fly everywhere because there's people fighting in a corridor. Or someone
Yeah.
comes out of an elevator and they drop their briefcase because somebody just suplexed onto them.
I
That
mean,
would have been funny. That would have been a good use of an office space.
They're fundamental ideas, aren't they? They're things that you would have just assumed that
I would
they
have
would
scribbled
do.
that down on the first page. That's idea number one.
Maybe the janitor is the only person you ever see because the janitor is the head writer.
Probably. Fucking. Anyway, so they Oscar's yelling at this janitor, and then they all chase after her, and then Dana Brooke slips on some water and then bangs her head on the floor. It's probably the best bump of the entire thing. In kayfabe, that's a real problem, and they got a lawsuit on their hands now because
Dana's not had a good time of it. She's been mocked and bullied by Stephanie McMahon.
yeah,
She's hit her head in a workplace environment.
she can sue for that. It's
I
on
think
camera.
a lot of people in this match should get compensation.
Well, I mean, Ray died, so I mean,
Ray died. Aleister Black died.
yeah.
You've given AJ Styles serious mental health issues.
And then we're in the corridor of the chairs already mentioned, and nobody bothered to take a chair off the wall. And then we're on to the AJ and Daniel Bryan brawling into Vince's office.
I enjoyed this bit. I know what you're going to say. I've read it all on Twitter. Can you imagine The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin brawling into Vince McMahon's office and then rearranging his chairs? Whatever. I think at this point, you've gone beyond repair. You've done the damage. It was fun for what it was. I enjoyed seeing Vince.
You know what? The chair bit wasn't too bad. You know what really pissed me off is when they got out of the room, AJ and Bryan argued about who was the bigger pussy.
Yeah, while they've currently got a championship match going on.
The two biggest stars in the company, you are more of a pushover than I am. What? These two are meant to be the biggest deal. Fuck's sake.
I mean, you keep saying fuck's sake and then just sound like you're walking off every single time. I would like to raise a point about Vince's interior design.
Yeah, go on.
So he's got this giant T-Rex head on his wall, which apparently was a gift from Triple H.
Quite famously so, that he's...
Well, apparently he thinks he's fucking Batman. Did you see the layout of this room?
It was weird. I didn't think it was an office until people on the internet started saying it was his office. It looked like just a weird room that was put together for filming.
I think it's designed this way, right? So you've got Vince's old man desk at the back. That's his private area.
Right.
Then you've got a giant T-Rex skull on the right with fiery red and orange plates going up it.
Yeah.
Then on the far left side, you've got a sofa. And really awkwardly positioned, you've got a table, which is closer to the dinosaur skull than anything else, and a long way away from the sofa. And it's just looks exactly like the sort of room that you would put together to intimidate somebody. You go into that office, and you're in a sea of McMahon. No wonder he gets everything that he wants.
It was the weirdest office I've ever seen. It's unlike any CEO office I've ever seen.
It just looked like it was purposely logistically set out to intimidate anybody that walks in.
Did you notice behind the camera as well, there was a wall of like one-sided windows?
No, I missed that.
Which is a bit rapey. I'm not sure what's in the room next door.
That's weird.
Yeah.
That's typical Vince. What did you think of Vince McMahon's little cameo?
What, him sanitizing his hands immediately after they left?
Well, that's the closest thing that you're going to get them talking about coronavirus.
I thought it was a play on him stereotypically always being a clean freak, but
Okay, yeah.
which is so going to get parodied on AEW.
Vince is looking a little bit old right now, isn't he?
And like you said before, like really skinny.
Yeah, he's looking very emaciated.
It's his age, man. He probably can't keep the muscle on anymore. So that's probably the real him without all the muscle packed on.
Cool to see the guy though. Couldn't get over the fact that he was wearing jeans.
Okay.
Okay, you need to calm yourself down because we're getting to
we're getting to it.
the results.
Well, here we go. Right. King Corbin just brawls and lays out AJ and Bryan in the corridor, and then just says, "That's it. I'm going to the roof now." And then we cut to the roof. God's sake, it's just stupid.
5 minutes later.
And then it's not even Corbin we see on the roof. It's Oscar Naya and Lacey Evans get to the roof first. And they're having the shittiest brawl. It's like it is a promo, a segment style brawling. It's not a match.
I don't want to anger you further, but why did Baron Corbin try and stop Asuka from winning the women's?
Yeah, this is for fuck's sake. There's 2 briefcases, one for a man, one for a woman. Baron Corbin and Oscar on the top of the ladder. Why not help each other get their own briefcase? Instead, they're fighting each other when they don't have to.
He thought maybe that Asuka was in the way and he wouldn't be able to.
She attacks him. It makes no logical sense.
No, because he keeps saying, "No, Asuka, no, you're not. No, you're not getting it." And then she just beats him up.
Is it because they were going for the wrong briefcase? But at no point ever have we ever been told women have to get that one and men have to get that one. There's no color coordination. There's not a blue and a pink one.
This is just where everything that Baron Corbin did once he got to the roof, I just lost it. I had no idea.
Why did they fight? They both could have won it at the same time. It makes no logical sense.
That's not even that, as you say, it makes no logical sense. It's not even a stupid heel being stupid. There's just absolutely no reason that he would be that stupid to begin with.
They could have helped each other. I mean, I know Oscar eventually got it, but in that moment, they could have helped each other get a briefcase each. And instead, they decided to fight.
It made no sense whatsoever.
So, Oscar gets the case. I mean, as much as I hated this match, the actual result, the 2 winners, I thought was a good outcome.
I agree. It could have been a lot worse. I think Oscar and Otis, I'm quite happy with.
I mean, my notes just become scribbles at this point. I am just frantically writing what the fuck. Yeah, so Baron Corbin falls off and Oscar gets the case. Which is a really underwhelming end, I thought, because there were just 3 women brawling and then Oscar just kind of gets it.
Again, so weird. Like, once you got up to the roof, half the people weren't there. You didn't really know where they were. They weren't really properly having a match. It was like watching the practice run for stunt drivers. I just didn't.
It felt kind of like. It felt kind of like, let's just get this show over with. We're here at the roof now.
I gotta admit, I keep going back to Impact Wrestling because this whole thing reminded me of Impact Wrestling's budget for Bound for Glory. You know, like they're trying really hard and this is their tip-top show of the year, but it still looks completely amateurish.
At least in TNA Impact, they would have suplexed someone off a car or something.
Personally, think that Impact are doing well right now. I just think that this stank of like low budget, sleazy wrestling shit. It felt like those old 3PW shows, you know?
Yeah.
Aimed at kids though.
Right. You want some more shit?
Don't talk to me about that Baron Corbin thing.
No, we're not even there yet. Otis tries to climb a ladder and he breaks the ladder. He can't climb it, which is the exact same fucking spot they did on SmackDown.
Not just that, he magic fixed it. Did you see this?
No.
He smashed it and they did the same spot on SmackDown and then he hit it again and he hit it right and he hit it so that it went back to normal.
Oh, I didn't notice that. That's good for me. But what I'm saying is, why bother do it on SmackDown if you've got the exact same spot with no reward, there's no difference on the actual match?
I have no idea. I thought that the whole point of that spot was to make it look like Otis was going to have a lot of difficulty getting up the ladder, but then he just came out with mystical plastic ladder healing abilities, and But
what I'm saying is, why do it on SmackDown and then Otis doesn't turn up with a reinforced ladder? Or like there's just some... I mean, in kayfabe, Otis turned up with knowing he can't climb a ladder. So there's no possible way he can win this match.
And in terms of storyline, turns up and doesn't have a problem. So there was no point to him hinting that he might have a problem.
Yeah, and then you just do the exact same spot. And do you know what's even more annoying? Otis is built at the same weight as Kane, who has never had a problem of climbing a ladder.
Otis is built at the same weight as Kane?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
like 320 pounds or something like that. Because Kane's a tall man, he doesn't look fat. They're only doing this spot because Otis looks fat, even though he's the same weight as Kane, who can climb a ladder.
The whole thing was fucking amateur.
Even Big Show can climb a fucking ladder.
I don't know.
Right, and it continues. Now we're at
Right,
Baron Corbin
okay.
throwing Rey Mysterio and Aleister Black off of a building.
What is there really to say about this? Baron Corbin threw Rey Mysterio, followed by Aleister Black. I don't know whether they meant to keep the sound in when they hit the crash pad to really subtly tell us that they're still alive. The referee didn't move from his position. Nobody batted an eyelid. None of the wrestlers stopped wrestling. They made out like instantly, within seconds, they made out like it hadn't actually happened. Nobody went to check. Nobody cared. Nobody was like, Baron, what the fuck you doing, mate? Baron Corbin didn't look like he had even realized what he had done. I don't get this at all.
And if you want to kill Rey Mysterio, fine. They didn't even do this well. In a wider shot, like with a drone they filmed earlier, you can definitely see that where they were wrestling was not the edge of the building. There was a whole more bit of roof.
Well, you could see the crash pads with the boxes as well.
Yeah, so they didn't even do this well.
They didn't even try to mask it as a ramp or a slope or like they usually do. They didn't try and make it look like in WWE pay-per-views usually they have like a weird wooden structure that's just there. You know, and it's painted.
Yeah.
They didn't bother. And that it stinks of this whole match. They didn't bother. They didn't care. I think that they probably got this in and out done in like a couple of hours on April the 15th and probably didn't really edit it that much. It's just kind of, the whole thing feels like you've got this creative endeavor, right, that you originally wanted to do, and then you get round to it and you have to sort of get it out of the way. So you just put the most minimal amount of effort in possible and throw it out and just put it up.
They just couldn't be bothered to do it right.
Problem with this is that it's the main event of a pay-per-view coming off WrestleMania that you have successfully built up incredibly well. This is exactly the sort of thing that they should be putting time and effort in. I've got to say, like, I'm not one for camera shots. I know a lot of people complain about WWE's camera shots and the way that they shoot. I never really notice it. I'm a real amateur when it comes to like camera shots and stuff like that on film. I know you're an expert on it. It's when I notice that you're filming really badly. You are filming really badly, and all of these rooftop shots were so bad. The camera cuts and like the angles, it was just really unpleasant to watch. And it really does feel like they didn't do a second shot of anything. You know?
No, they definitely didn't do reshoots. And like you said, the roof turned out, maybe this isn't really their fault, but it looked like it was a very awkward space to film on. But again, they had, I mean, it's their building. They know what size their roof is. I'm sure they could have.
Make some scaffolding and get a ramp up and just film the fucking TV show on the roof. It's watching the cars go by at least adds some interest to the fucking matches.
The motorbikes you could hear off in the background was like funny. It was like the funniest thing in there, and it was nothing to do with them.
I mean, like it looks like it would be a great location on a WWE video game. But it just added to like like you've seen some really bad movies, right? Like on Horror Channel or Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah.
This felt like that, where you can hear like a couple arguing in the background because they're walking through the same park as the director.
There's just no clean editing on it. It's just awfully done. So then we get to the finish. Ends of AJ and Corbin up at the top of the ladder, and they're fighting for the briefcase, and they both actually get the briefcase, and then Elias out of nowhere hits Baron Corbin with a guitar.
Who cares?
It's fine. I'm not actually against it. To get to the finish, that's fine.
I am.
But then AJ Butterfingers drops the briefcase and Otis catches
God. I hated this more than you, bro.
Logically, AJ's the winner. AJ had it in his hand.
I've got two issues with this. Number one, why does everything Baron Corbin does last fucking 6 months? You fucked over Elias and you made him look like shit. Then he won a match at WrestleMania and nobody talked about it again. Now we've all forgotten Elias exists and now he comes back. So now we're going to go do this for months. I thought this was over, bro.
Yeah, it's been over. I mean, I'm not against it happening, but like you say, reference it beforehand in the weeks leading up to this.
But it's the same thing again. It's the same thing again. I haven't watched Raw yet, but what's being advertised, Edge is going looking for Randy Orton.
Yeah, no, I saw that as well. I saw that.
Why is Edge going looking for Randy? He got a definitive win. He basically fucking killed Randy Orton. Why is he now going looking for him again? To make him feel better?
If Randy Orton is going for Edge, that makes some logical sense, maybe.
Exactly.
But yeah, you're right. Anyway.
But again, going back to this point, Elias beat Baron Corbin at WrestleMania. He got his revenge. Then you don't see Elias again. Now he's coming back to smash Baron Corbin again. He's already won. What sense does that make? Why don't you put Elias in the match and then have Baron Corbin take him out? It just doesn't make any sense. If you're gonna have somebody win, they don't. Why are they with Edge or Elias? Why are they then going after the guy they've already beat? It doesn't make any sense. And as concerning the finish with the drop briefcase, didn't we fucking see this last month? Wasn't this something that we've already seen in the last ladder match that they did at WrestleMania 36?
Yeah. John Morrison won accidentally.
This pissed me off more than any of the stupid comedy. The way that this finish was handled was just the final insult.
I just don't understand it, because either AJ and Corbin are joint winners, which I get you can't do, or AJ's the winner. He had it in his hand, even if it was just for a second. He had it in his hand after it was unhooked. It doesn't matter if he dropped it. This isn't the 24 championship. No one can just pick it up and declare themselves the winner. AJ had it in his hand.
This is the new finish of the month, bro. This is what they enjoy doing now, because the exact same angle played out at WrestleMania last month. I think they think that ladder matches are now boring and everybody knows what the result's going to be.
Ladder matches are not boring. Ladder matches are some of the best matches.
So they think that they've come up with a new creative finish of accidentally dropping it into somebody else's hands.
Right. Well, I actually listened to a podcast and they said WWE have a precedent for money in the ladder matches, that there are no fucking rules. Last year, Brock Lesnar wasn't even a match and he won it. And then, I don't know what year it was, but the year that, was the fucking No Chin won it for Carmella.
Oh, James Ellsworth.
James Ellsworth unclipped it and gave it to Carmella. There's a point to be made that these Money in the Bank ladder matches, it doesn't matter if you qualify. Everyone on the roster is just eligible to be in this match.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you start in the match. Apparently, there's no fucking rules. Whoever has the briefcase in their hand when the show comes to a close is declared the winner, no matter what happened in the match. And when there's no rules, it's a joke. And this is meant to be an important match, and it's just a fucking joke. And now, when you compare it to all the other Money in the Bank matches, it's not important anymore. Who fucking cares?
WWE think that they can get away with anything, but as you say, they've been doing this stuff for years. But they think that they can now shove it in your face with no logical reason or meaning, specifically because they're doing you a service, a public service, by providing you with entertainment during this pandemic. They've got it in their head, as they said in the press release. They are now like a part of the social fabric. Them producing pay-per-views during this pandemic is not for them to make money. It's for us to thank them for it. That's their modus operandi in doing these shows.
It's not a service for us when it's utter bullshit, though.
But they think that we have to thank them and say, yes, sir, thank you for my shit,
I'm not thanking them. This show was awful, and I'm just not interested in their product at all.
Final score out of 10?
0. I was so angry. I'm angry now.
Is this put you off WWE's product?
Yeah, honestly, I'm not watching this week out of probably protest. But I mean, after that, I don't even know if I'm interested in watching what they've got to say, because it's... I will say, though, that Otis winning is interesting.
Yeah, no, I think going forward, good winners. Asuka can carry the brand for a while on Raw.
Well, Oscar
And
has been crowned. I haven't watched Raw yet, but Oscar has been crowned champion now.
yeah, and I think that she can carry the brand going forward. I think she's a good choice. I think she's shown herself to be one of the most entertaining people during this pandemic as well.
She's the best female wrestler during the pandemic. She's been the most entertaining.
Yeah, and I think Otis, you can have a lot of fun with him playing this out for a couple of months, slowly gaining momentum. And I think they're trying cash him. They're trying to get him to cash in as soon as crowds are back.
He's going to be really over when crowds are back.
Yeah, and they tease it for a couple of weeks when crowds are back, and depending how the crowds react to him, I could see him having a month or 2 month caretaker run. Honestly,
Although there's a theory, do you think he'll cash in for a tag team championship with Tucker?
I really hope not. It's quite clear who's got the charisma and is the driving force behind that team. And as much as I hope Tucker lands on his feet, I think that would put back Otis several steps. I don't think that they should go with that. Anyway, let's calm you down. Let's get to the best television show of the week. Something that I really enjoyed watching. That's built up a pay-per-view relatively well, and that I will be tuning into next week.
Dynamite was dope this week.
Dynamite was good.
And not only was it good, they did a backstage brawl better than WWE doing a backstage brawl, and it was meant to be the most important match of the year.
Can't really help but feel like AEW said, hold my beer. We know that your stuff's going to be terrible. We're going to show you that it's good before you do it.
Oh, you think that's a backstage brawl? Here's a backstage brawl.
Yeah, I think they got it out of the way before WWE did theirs, so that at the end of the week, when you were thinking about backstage brawls, you were reminded of the good time that you had on Wednesday night as opposed to the bad time you had on Sunday.
Yeah, so you mentioned there's something you didn't like about this show. What didn't you like?
What do you think, man?
Dark Order.
Dark Order, bro. Dark Order. I don't understand, bro. You had a good match between Mox and Kaz that I thought maybe went a bit too long, but it was enjoyable. Dark Order should be nowhere near the main event. You had Brody Lee sell for Marco Stunt the week before, and then you have him coming in with his BDSM gimps and beating up John Moxley.
Yeah, but
stupid.
Forget the Marco Stunt stuff. Don't you see this as like kind of a reset for Brody Lee?
Why is it a reset immediately after you fucked him?
Because they made a mistake on his debut. I think this is a good direction for Dark Order. I think doing this is going to make Dark Order look a lot more legit. I get what you're saying. At the moment, it looks weak, and it's not. It looks weak right now, but it's the right direction for them to go in.
It wasn't all bad. I thought Brody Lee looked good. It's the first time I've properly seen him since I started watching AEW again. I think he's got he looks a lot better than he did in his WWE run. And I've realized in his WWE run, I didn't even really hear him talk. He's very eloquent and he talks very well, and I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, I've got no problem with Brody Lee. It's everything around Brody Lee that I don't like. And I just think throwing the Dark Order, which quite obviously unanimously people do not like, into the main event to try and save the guy that you've been messing up for a couple of weeks. I don't like. I think that if you're pressing the reset button, you don't press the reset button straight into the main event. You realize that you might have not introduced his character properly and start again from there, from where you should have started a month before. Don't just throw him in with John Moxley. I don't like that.
Did you notice though that several of the goons were wearing suits?
Yeah.
So it's like Brody Lee has come in and he's changing the Dark Order as they go along. I think that's like a nice little twist on what's happening.
Okay. I don't want to shit on AEW before we even get into it, because honestly, I thought this was a great show, right? I don't see this. I don't understand the Dark Order stuff. I don't understand why it's being pushed into the main event. And you can tell me to forget about the Marco Stunt thing, but that was last week. You can't tell me that the guy goes from being slapped around by Marco Stunt to knocking out John Moxley. There needs to be a couple of weeks build up to that level, in my opinion.
Yeah,
But
I get what you're saying. I just think it's a strong direction for Brody to go in from here.
okay, we agree to disagree on that one. But I will say that the Dark Order facing John Moxley at the main event of Double or Nothing was better than anything apart from Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins on Money in the Bank. So
I did love how they beat Moxley down, and then Brody says he wants a championship match, and then Moxley just turns around and is like, all you had to do was ask. So none of this has hurt Moxley at all.
not at all. I think he comes off just as well as he ever did, and it kind of feels like he like they've been put in this position because they have to, as you said, because it's a reset button. I don't think it harms Moxley at all. I think Moxley will beat Brody Lee, get it out of the way. Brody Lee will have a loss, but he'll have a loss to a champion, and then they can restart him again. I see what they're doing. I just personally wouldn't have picked that as the main event of a pay-per-view that people are really looking forward to, especially in this environment.
What did you think of the Nyla Rose match?
I thought it was okay. Like didn't really get too much out of it. I enjoyed the fact that the women are starting to be built up again. It was good to see them there, and that also feels like a little bit of a reset as well, because last time I saw the women, they were kind of lost for something to do, and now it looks like you've slowly got several challenges coming up at once.
I really liked that the heel move that she kept on lifting her opponent's shoulders up at the 2 count to like continue the beatdown.
They did that with Lance Archer as well, and I think that it worked for both.
I really like it. It's like a heelish thing to do.
Yeah, I didn't mind seeing both of them do the same thing, because I think it built both of them up.
So Statlander and Ashida were both at ringside, and I feel like as Nyla Rose was doing this, those two should have maybe not interjected themselves into the match, but they should have done something to like maybe stop this beatdown of this poor jobber. You know what I mean?
I didn't even know that they're at ringside because I've been watching for 2 weeks, and this is a little nag that I have about AEW every week. Just show me a title card, bro. Just say that. Just put their name and say that they're an AEW wrestler. That's all I need. Because some of these guys in the crowd, I assume, are like trainees or something. If you're just, this is the problem with AEW mostly. You go into it, you haven't watched every single week and every single YouTube video. They expect you to know who everyone is. It doesn't matter whether it's WCW, Impact, Ring of Honor, old school WWE. There's always title cards for a reason. So that I'm now told part of the story that I might not have heard on commentary. This is a female wrestler. She wants to go for the championship as well. It just saves them a lot of time. And,
that's fair enough. But Statlander and Ashida are the 2 top contenders for the women's belt.
Okay, but these are tiny nags. They're not major issues I have with it. It's just little ways that I can see them improving.
So they're the top contenders, and I just thought either they should have helped this job, or they should have done something to stop Nyla Rose being a complete dickhead heel from keeping this beatdown going on. It just seemed like silly. They were just at ringside doing nothing. What it was
yeah. Okay.
But yeah, moving on. MGF promo was dope.
Gold.
I didn't realize he was on a green screen until they moved the chairs in.
I liked that. I liked that even in itself. AEW have a really good way of sometimes looking as tacky as WWE and like knowing that they're doing it and then playing it into characters that don't care. And I think that it's a perfect way to save budget and yet sort of wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Yeah, we know that it doesn't look great, but it's MJF.
You say that, but until they moved the chairs, it did look good. I didn't realize it was green screen until they moved the chairs. So like, they did pull it off quite well.
Still better imagery than Braun and Bray, yeah.
What else you want to talk about? You got the I think we're setting up for Britt Baker versus Brandy, but the big headline of the show is Jake the Snake bringing out a snake to lay on top of a laid out Brandy.
I really like the Lance Archer, Jake the Snake Roberts dynamic.
I had a problem with this segment, though, that this made it feel like it was Jake versus Cody and Lance Archer was kind of in the background.
That seems to be a recurring problem from what I've heard and seen.
Yeah.
Jake is kind of being bad manager in the fact that he's getting himself over more.
He's taking all the spotlight.
Yeah, it does feel a little bit like Lance Archer is Jake the Snake Roberts hired heavy.
Yeah, exactly.
As opposed to the other way around. But I think Lance Archer they're doing a phenomenal job with him. and they seem to be, they make him look good without going down that continual sort of WWE squash route where he goes through guys in a minute, and like he's having competitive matches with people while still looking like he's playing with them, you know?
So what did you think about the imagery of the snake being laid on top of her? I thought it was awesome, but a little bit strange in 2020.
I think that they completely saved it by is another thing I liked about it. They saved it by mentioning the symbolism of it.
Yeah,
I don't know who it was on commentary, but somebody said that the symbolism is awful. This is disgusting.
yeah.
I really liked that because, again, it's a company, feels, sounds, and looks like it's actually run by normal people in the modern world.
And then at one point he kind of gets on top of her, and it's a bit weird. It's a bit rapey.
Yeah, Jake the Snake's got a problem with this, doesn't he? Like
He he got way too close to her. None of the Rhodes family came out to save her because it went awkwardly long.
they seem to have an answer for everything, which is quite refreshing, even if it's hokey. Because with WWE, you're just told to forget about it, that nobody mentions it, nobody's coming out because nobody's coming out. They came up with it just shows you also, I think, how professional the commentators are and how long they've been around doing this stuff. Because they quite clearly saw that somebody should come out, one of the roads should come out, right? But then they started making up this hokey excuse of the golf cart. Like, do you know how big this building is? The golf carts, you have to get golf carts to the locker room. Cody's in the locker room right now. He's not going to be happy when he sees this. And
Yeah.
as you said, it's all about suspending your disbelief. And you'll take the lamest excuse if you're just treated like somebody with a modicum of intelligence. And they treated me like I had a modicum of intelligence. So I'm quite happy to believe that Cody Rhodes is somewhere in the locker room watching this from TV and getting furious. You know, I'm quite happy with that.
Okay, fair enough. I feel like animal activists are not going to be happy with this.
I'm a little bit shocked by for how forward thinking they are. AEW continually using animals.
Yeah, I've got this note as well that this is the third time now that AEW have used animals and not in the most humane way.
I just remember Cody's dog being terrified.
Cody's dog was terrified because Cody had the pyros go off behind them. Hangman walked in on a horse once, and the horse was obviously very spooked by 25,000 people being in a very enclosed space.
I didn't see the horse thing.
Yeah, it was at one of the pay-per-views. And then in this segment, him putting the snake on her is fine. He's obviously got a lot of practice handling snakes. But then at the end of the segment, he kind of pretends to throw the snake into the crowd. On paper, it's fine, but when you're watching it, and definitely in a kayfabe world where like, oh, maybe he could do that, that's really not a good look to have.
He also nearly stepped on the snake. I don't know whether you noticed that.
I didn't notice that.
I think that what they did was fine. I thought the segment was okay. Could they have rewritten the segment completely differently but have the same effect? Yes. I don't think that there's really any need or place for it. And as you say, I don't think any sort of animal in an entertainment industry is a good look. Especially it wasn't a good look before Tiger King, bro. Now you just look like a dickhead now.
Yeah.
So it's something that I think they really need to throw away.
Then we got a backstage interview. Taz is interviewing Darby Allin. What do you think of it? Well, there's one of two things that could happen here. Either Taz is eventually going to become Darby Allin's manager, which I'm not too keen with. But what about Taz being an interviewer all the time? He was really good. He looked really good.
I pop every time I see Taz. I get excited every single time I see Taz. I think Taz would be a perfect backstage interviewer.
That'd be really fun.
I really don't want to see him with Darby. They're completely different types.
Yeah, that doesn't work at all. But I think as a backstage interviewer, we should do that.
Is it just me that thinks that QT Marshall looks exactly like Kevin Spacey?
I can see the resemblance.
You're skipping through these matches. I really, really enjoyed this show. I thought you'd be excited that I enjoyed it so much.
I've just got very limited notes because I knew we'd go so long on Money in the Bank.
Is QT Marshall AEW's resident jobber?
He's part of the Rhodes family, and
why?
Because he trained Cody, or he's just a part of the family. He just is.
Why do they not explain these things on TV? Brandy Rhodes came out with QT Marshall
because it's part of the Rhodes family, man. They have explained it before, so
Yeah, but it's the same with any explanation that AEW gives. It's just sort of thrown away in a comment, and you're expected to memorize it.
I know, but it would get annoying if they explained their whole relationship every week.
But you could again use the title cards.
Yeah.
Cody's trainer, whatever, you know.
But he had a big deal like with the formation of AEW, and he's like one of the head trainers there. And he's only really been used as a wrestler during this quarantine phase. He wasn't really used before this. He had a few odd matches, and he was kind of weirdly having a team with Dustin, sorry.
I liked QT Marshall. I think
Yeah,
he's the
cool,
perfect kind of jobber as well. He bounced around like hell for Lance Archer and made him look really, really good. I also just want to go back for a second. One of my favorite parts of AEW for the last 2 weeks is Cody working long matches with like mid-card guys to open.
Yeah.
I really like that, and I like Cody being used like that, as having competitive matches that he wins, but he doesn't look like a monster against these guys, but he brings out the best in them. And I really enjoyed this match with Joey Janela, who I've only ever heard awful things about from Jim Cornette. Never actually seen him in person before.
You need to go back and watch the Cracker Barrel hardcore match, because it will change your opinion on Jimmy Havoc and Joey Janela. Darby Allin's in the match as well. It's a three-way.
I don't think you're going to get me to change my opinion on Jimmy Havoc. I
know,
enjoyed this show a lot more because Jimmy Havoc wasn't on it.
I'm just saying, just watch that match and you'll see a completely different... You'll see the side of these guys that they normally are. They're being molded to be a different kind of wrestler, I think.
I like the different kind of wrestler they're being molded to be then.
Well, I don't like Joey Janela as a face. I think he needs to be a heel, a bad guy.
Oh yeah, no, he stinks of sleazy heel.
I don't know why they're portraying him as a face.
But I do like wrestlers working actual wrestling matches. I think this is why AEW is so refreshing for me right now. There's so few flippy dips. There's proper storylines, proper matches, good matches that go like 15, 20 minutes. The right people look good. The right people look bad. I'm enjoying it.
The flippy dips is the one thing you hated about AEW a year ago.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They've disappeared.
That's because the elite are off TV.
Well, I'll be sticking around with AEW for the foreseeable future now.
Once the Young Bucks are back, the flippy dippy shit will come back.
Well, we'll see. I don't hate flippy dippy wrestling.
As long as it's not every match on the card.
I don't want to see it every match, and I want to see some semblance of fundamental psychology when you're wrestling. Stop getting up instantly after everything.
Yeah.
That's all I want. That's all I'm after. You can still have your stupid lucha shit. I just want somebody laying down for more than 5 seconds if they get hit by a 550 flying fucker.
You and me are like Cornette and Meltzer in a room together. Can you imagine those two trying to talk to each other?
Hey, you bring out the worst in me, because I loved this show and I was gonna just say nothing but positivity about it, and somehow you keep like twisting me into these corners where I start ranting about it again. But I actually really liked it.
I love this show too. It was the best wrestling all week by far.
Yes, I agree.
Main event. Jericho comes out and immediately goes up to square off with Pineapple Pete in the crowd.
Yeah, what was that all about?
So Jericho's been on commentary for the last month or so. He's been taking pops at this Pineapple Pete that the guy's stupid, he wears stupid shirts, he hates him, he's not a proper wrestler. So this is actually quite a slow building feud, if you like, that Jericho just hates this random guy that's always in the crowd. And they're going to have a match next week. And it's awesome that Jericho's managed to have this little side storyline that's it's going to just be like the opening match on a Dynamite. It's nothing massive, but it just shows how awesome Jericho is at like doing these things.
I've always been a big fan of Jericho, but I've never thought he was the GOAT, you know. I can safely say I think at this point in 2020, Chris Jericho is currently the greatest wrestler of all time.
And you didn't even watch his Japanese stuff, did you?
No.
The stuff he did over there was just fantastic. Like, he molded himself into the strong style He went over there blind and did their shit better than they do it.
You can his brain is whirring when Chris Jericho is on TV, there is not a single wasted second.
Yeah.
And everything he's doing, everything he says is entertaining. Everything he does is entertaining. The slightest twitch of his body can get somebody over. He's quite obviously helping guys like Sammy Guevara on TV live at the time. Like he gives a little heads up or something in such a subtle way. I think he's absolutely brilliant right now.
He must be helping all of them backstage. I mean, even this Pineapple Pete guy, he's a nobody we never even heard of until a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And Jericho's made a storyline out of him.
And he knows how to just sell himself, whatever he's doing. He had this big champagne thing, right? For a little while, a little bit of the bubbly.
I mean, it's still a thing. It's still a catchphrase.
But he's always looking for the next moment. There was a bit where he put a traffic cone on his head and just laughed like a gremlin.
Yeah, I got that in a note. He puts a cone on his head.
I just love the fact that it doesn't matter what it is. He doesn't care about, he hasn't got like an ego of being serious. He'll do anything he can to make money and put everybody else over at the same time.
Yeah, I mean,
and
even
I love that.
The Bubbly Bunch segments that are just like so cheesily corny comedy. I mean, they're not even funny, but they're still good in a way.
They're funny because the people doing them realize that they're not funny.
Yeah, we're laughing at them, not with them, but they know that.
Yeah, and that's why Jericho's comedy is so much better than whatever Money in the Bank was.
I reckon this is the best Falls Counts Anywhere match since the Attitude Era.
It was mental. I really, really enjoyed it.
And like we said, they came to put a fight with this whole Money in the Bank thing, and they definitely won.
Well, just the idea of Matt Hardy getting knocked out by ice, locked in an ice machine, getting changed seemingly in the ice machine, and then getting on a golf cart.
Do you think he did the costume change in the ice machine?
I don't think he did, but I would like to believe that he did.
If he did, that is fantastic. That's just...
Can you explain the change, like the character changes? Is that a part of his new character or?
Yeah, so when he debuted the broken Matt Hardy, it didn't have quite the reaction they were hoping it was going to have. A lot of people online say AEW is meant to be a legitimate sports league. There's no room for supernatural stuff. And I don't know did you see the episode where he did the teleporting?
Yeah, I heard about it.
Yeah, and so everybody was like, this is stupid. So they've taken a step back, and I think they've saved it. That Matt Hardy is broken Matt Hardy, but because people like Jericho are too dumb to understand what he's saying, he also has to be Mattitude. He has to be the old Matt Hardy so that he can get his words across and people can understand what he's saying. So he's playing like a split personality now, if you like. But it works better because now you can explain off the supernatural stuff that it's all in his head and that he's these different people.
Regardless, I think it's entertaining, suits the character, and I've got absolutely no problem with it whatsoever.
The biggest spot in this match was the golf cart. It looked really stupid when Jericho took the spot because Jericho obviously, I guess because he's a bit older, he didn't want to take the spot properly, so he did what any logical person would do. He sidestepped out of the way of the golf cart, and he just got clipped by it. And then, oh my God, Sammy Guevara got murdered.
That was brutal.
He just jumped up and then took it, and then he did like somebody else compared it to when The Rock gets like thrown into a ring post and just like spins in the air.
Just major credit. Like that is a speeding vehicle that Sammy Guevara decided to just jump in front of for entertainment.
And there's photos of it. It's hilarious of just Matt Hardy and Kenny Omega in the golf cart, and Kenny Omega is just like pointing at him, and it's just like
yeah, I've seen the memes. Yeah,
it's Sammy Guevara's looking back like in Jurassic Park where they're getting chased by a T-Rex. It's like, stop going forward, just go sideways, get out of the way of it.
I just love how stupid the whole thing was. Sammy Guevara hitting Kenny Omega into an ATM and getting money out of it.
Yeah, and he actually pockets the money.
It's like actually clever. I wouldn't say clever, but it's actually funny comedy which doesn't interfere with their characters or put them down in any way.
Do you know what is actually clever about this match and treats the audience with some intellect, unlike Money in the Bank? There's no rules in this match, right? It's a Falls Count Anywhere. So at the end, the rest of the inner circle get involved and they all start brawling to help their team win, which makes all the sense, right? Because why wouldn't Jack Hager get involved to try and help Chris Jericho to win?
Yeah. Well,
He stood right there. Why not throw a punch?
it's just symptomatic of a match put together by people that have thought about it for more than 5 minutes.
But I would say Chris Jericho probably did only think about this for 5 minutes, and he still produced this.
Wait, Chris Jericho is a bit of a mastermind, isn't he?
So my favorite spot of the match was the moonsault off the scissor lifts. Kenny Omega does a moonsault, taking everybody out.
That was fun. I've also got to say that Kenny Omega has been rehabbed a lot in my mind since last time I saw him. I think last time I watched him, he was on a bit of a losing streak, and nobody really knew what sort of character he was playing or why. And it looks like he's having a good time again, and he's like half serious, half comedic, and I really enjoyed everything on the show. Pretty much all of these guys, I think, delivered. I like all of their characters. Right at the end of the show, I think that last shot of the show was so good. I remember that more than anything on Money in the Bank's SmackDown, Raw, and of them just putting their middle fingers up outside the football stadium with the Inner Circle logo coming up in the back. Such a cool shot, bro.
It's such
like the closest anybody's come to NWO since like Evolution. You know, just you actually think that these guys are, you know, the shit. You know?
Yeah, and it's like sticking their middle finger up. They don't care what TNT say. They're rebellious. They're their own thing.
Yeah, that's
cool.
what I'm saying. It's got like NWO energy.
Yeah, no, I'm just like, I got nothing left to say. Money in the Bank has drained me this week.
I can tell.
Okay. I got so passionate.
Yeah. Are you gonna watch this Undertaker documentary? Because I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah, probably, because I don't really want to watch regular wrestling, so probably will. All right. Well, I'll love you and leave you, and see you next week.
All right. Have a good evening, bro.